Welcome to this week's episode of Edges and Sledges, brought to you by CEAT Tires. Guys, we've got a great podcast coming up for you. India has just won the second test match by 317 runs, leveling the series at 1-1, which should make for a fantastic last two games. We're going to chat all about that today. I've got Ashwin and DJ with me. It's a full house. We've also got a special guest after the break. So stay tuned for that, because while we give you some opinions on the pitch, we're going to have somebody who's a lot more knowledgeable about this. And we also want to say that by the time you guys hear this, we're going to be just one day away from the IPL auction. Lots happening there. We are going to do a special episode next week where we talk specially about auction, about the teams and one team in particular. So guys, stay tuned for that. We're going to get straight into the second test match. DJ, I'm going to come to you first. How are you feeling? India's 1-1.
Yeah, normal service has resumed. Like our listeners, we're pretty pleased. It's 1-1. It's been a magnificent performance. All that chat about the pitch and turning wickets and England having outperformed. I mean, you guys are still on track for your 2-1 and 3-1 predictions, and it feels pretty good, man. I mean, it feels like this should have been the first test, but as you say, India has a slow start usually. So Atiti Devo Bhava, we gave them one test match, but hopefully the next three will be ours.
And Ashwin, is it just exciting to lose the first test? Like, are we all just more invested when India loses the first test?
I mean, that's what I was texting with my British colleagues at work, right? That's the truth about the matter is when we go one test down, everybody's invested. You have to win. You have to fight back. It becomes a better story. So hopefully it's not on purpose, but it's obviously not a coincidence that multiple series now in a row we've gone down in the first test and then come back to win. So fingers crossed.
Absolutely. I think the fight and the comeback is always good fun to watch. Guys, we're gonna talk a lot about rotation and selection by both teams. But before that, I do want to just say one thing that, last week, a lot of you who are following us knew that CEAT is now sponsoring our podcast. We're really excited with that. The partnership has just started. And for a lot of our longtime listeners, we just wanted to give you a heads up that what we are going to do is we are going to have a CEAT Player of the Week, and we're going to try to do 2 awards, right? So let's say we have a CEAT Reliable Player of the Week and a CEAT Safe Player of the Week. So what we would love for you guys to do is, if you have more ideas around how to phrase that CEAT Player of the Week, let us know. We'd love to take your suggestion. And the other thing is, like, we put out a poll today. We'll talk about that later. If you have suggestions on who should be the CEAT Player of the Week, tweet into us, because we'll definitely take your answers into consideration. With that, DJ, let's get into it a little bit on the toss. Now, India haven't won a toss for a long time. There was a lot of chat around some of our fans on Twitter saying that India should just flip a CEAT bat, right? And that should help determine who's going to bat first or bowl first. I mean, there was a point where we thought, Kohli, there's no point him going out to toss the coin. So how important was the toss for us?
So interesting. We'll talk a lot about the toss and pitches and stuff, but one would almost argue that the toss was less important in this test match than the first test match, because you could see that when England won the toss and batted first in the first test match, they amassed that huge score and the ball wasn't doing much. It looked pretty dead. Here, the ball was turning from day one. And if England had bowled well, in my opinion, whatever little advantage the toss would have given them would have been negated. Instead, they bowled badly. They lacked control. There was lots of full tosses, long hops, and brilliant batting from the Indian team. So I think the toss in this game was less important than the last game, to be totally honest.
Yeah, that's fair. And DJ, since you brought it up, Ashwin, let's get into a little bit on the pitch. I was hoping to wait a little while longer into the podcast before we talked about the pitch, but Ajinkya Rahane came out one day before the test and said it's going to turn from day one. After that, we saw it wasn't the easiest pitch to bat on, but we know that as the match went on, it just required application, right? The batsmen who applied themselves came out well. The bowlers who applied themselves did better than the rest. And so, Ashwin, give us your opinion, because there's been a lot of chat around how this is not an international test level pitch. India has done this for a home advantage. The match was supposed to finish on 2 or 3 days, but it stretched finally into 4. So let's get your perspective on the pitch.
Yeah, I mean, if you believe the British pundits out there and Michael Vaughan and them, what happened with the pitch was it was great to bat on for day one and a little bit of day two. It got really bad for day two. They got great to bat on day three and got really bad day four, right? Obviously, that's not how pitches work. And so it's time the the commentators, the pundits, whoever they are, own up and say, these are tricky pitches to bat on, period. Both sides bat on the same pitch, right? For some reason, it always comes across as, or feels like they're trying to imply that India gets to bat on an easier pitch. I think DJ said it well. The toss does matter, but mattered less so in this match. So I could probably spend the next 20 minutes ranting about this issue. What I will say is, when there are matches which both teams make 500 plus runs and it ends in a draw at the end of day 5, we all say, everybody in the cricketing world says, we need pitches that are more competitive, that give a little bit to the bowlers, sometimes just enough to the bowlers. And now we've got a pitch that there's enough for the bowlers. You could argue maybe it shouldn't have had that much in it for the bowlers from day one, but it was a competitive pitch. You saw 2 centuries, one from an opener, one from a number 8 batsman. So there were runs to be had on this pitch. You saw 2 5-fers, one from a right arm off spinner, one from a left arm off spinner. Not the greatest pitch all in, that it's puffs of dust coming up and turning from day one, but I think you had some great performances. And so you said it right. You needed good application, and some of the Indian players showed that this week.
Awesome. And DJ, I know you're going to get more into the pitch later, so let's hold that thought for now. But let's talk a little bit about the selection by both teams. So India went in with Akshar Patel and Kuldeep Yadav, both kind of expected changes. And England, to my surprise, actually left out Butler, Anderson, and Archer, who had an elbow injury, but all very big changes. Talk us through a little bit on the team rotation or team selection.
Yeah, so interesting on the rotation side of things, India rested Bumrah, which for me is a huge call, and it shows the confidence that the team has in Mohammad Siraj, right? I mean, your premier bowler, probably one of the top 2 or 3 bowlers in the world, and you've lost a test match on the same ground, and you've decided to rest him for that. That I thought was a huge call from the Indian team. I think Akshar was definitely the call that we thought that he would play anyway in the first test match. And I think Kohli confirmed that later, to bring that left arm, and he bowled brilliantly, 7 wickets on debut. There was also the change with Kuldeep, which everybody had been kind of begging for. So this was kind of the team that we thought would play the first test match, barring injury. So other than the Bumrah surprise, which, I mean, frankly, if India hadn't bowled that well, that decision would have come under quite a lot of scrutiny, particularly given there's a 10-day gap between this test and the next one. And that's why everyone is asking the question, why didn't Jimmy Anderson play this test match? There's a gap, he can recover. So it looks bad for England because they've gone with their rotation policy. Joss Butler went home because he's been away from family for a long time. There's been COVID bubbles. He obviously played the IPL. He'll be back again for the IPL in April. So that was kind of pre-planned. Moeen Ali leaves after this test match. And then, interestingly, they swapped Dom Bess, who was one of the luckiest bowlers, I thought, particularly in the first game, with Moeen Ali. Moeen Ali did well. I think he picked up kind of 7 or 8 wickets in the game and scored a 50. But I don't see what Bess had done so badly that he needed to be dropped. In some ways, it's almost, there's that old saying, it's better to be lucky than be good, right? And Dom Bess has certainly proved that with his bowling so far in his test career. So interesting selection and rotation by both teams. It looks good when it comes off, like when Siraj came off for Bumrah. But not so good when it doesn't come off. For example, when Jimmy Anderson was rested. So everyone's now asking the question, why didn't he play?
Yeah, that's fair. In fact, I think the next test is a pink test, the first pink test to be ever held in India. And so, I mean, Bumrah and Anderson clearly rested. Or DJ, you're saying no, it's not the first
match.
Or the second. Okay.
The second
when was
one.
the first one?
Kohli scored a double 100 in the first one against Bangladesh, right?
Oh, wow. Okay. There you see, my memories failed me again, but good we have DJ on this podcast. So the second pink test, but I think Bumrah, Anderson definitely being rested to be able to perform well in that test. And Ashwin, let's talk a little bit about India's first innings. So the scorecard was a really funny one, right? Rohit 161, Shubman Gill 0. Pujara got stuck in there, made 21. Kohli 0. Rahane 67, Pant 58. So it was a little bit of an odd scorecard, but I want you to just talk us through a little bit on Rohit's 161 and how great was that innings on this pitch. The partnership between Rahane and Rohit. And for Pant, how unfair is it for a player like Pant to be left without a partner, especially on Valentine's Day?
Yeah, that last one, obviously, I don't have much to add about, right? But on Rohit Sharma, man, most of us have seen, any of us who've seen him play for a while, have seen and commented specifically about how Rohit seems to get an extra little bit of time, whether it's a half second or a quarter second or whatever, with the ball. And that's just how talented he is. And he made that count for him in the first test at Chepauk, in the second test at Chepauk in the first innings, right? He was using his feet well. He was spotting the ball well. He was, he was disarming the bowlers in a sense. When the ball was starting to turn and puffs of dust coming up on the first day, he just wasn't giving them time to settle. And I think you said it well. Whenever you see a scorecard where, in your top 4 batsmen, 3 get out for under 22 and 1 makes 161, you realize just how special that one innings was. So, Rohit batted really well early on. Rahane, let's give him credit. He'll be forgotten in the landscape of this test match, but he was magnificent because India walked into lunch, I think, at 3 down, and walked into tea also at 3 down. So they didn't lose a wicket in that second session on day 1. And that was probably incredibly critical. Pant, of course, came in, made a great 50, looked like he could have kept going. Unfortunately, fell a little short. And you could argue he shouldn't have taken a single on the first ball of the over to give strike to the tailenders. But that's something a young batsman will learn more and more with time, right? He'll learn how to, quote unquote, farm the strike and make sure he's batting out at least 4 balls of the over. But magnificent. I mean, Rohit looked great in the second innings too before he got out. We know he's outstanding. We know he's a white ball legend. He's amazing at home. So fantastic to see 161 runs, which is more than England scored in their first innings. And how much did they score in the second? Almost as much as they scored in the second. Anyway,
yeah, if it wasn't for Moeen Ali's late blitz. But Rohit, fantastic. I mean, I think that's what they say, right? When you've got this kind of lazy batting approach, it looks great on good wickets. But I think on this wicket, I thought it was spectacular. And if you ask me, Rohit's innings really set the match up when India were struggling a little bit with 2 ducks out of their top 4. But talking of 2 ducks, DJ, talk us through the Kohli dismissal. Like, Moeen Ali bowled him through the gates, and then he just stood there almost like he was waiting to review this. Yeah,
Kohli had an interesting game. I think there were some pretty interesting reactions while batting, while in the field, 2 umpiring decisions, when he was hauled up for running across the pitch by one of the umpires as well in the third inning. So Kohli's the cameras have had their fill of Kohli this game, but I mean, that's why we love him, man. He's always in the action. That ball by Moeen Ali, brilliant, man. First ball of a test, first day of a test match, for that to go through the gate of, in the morning session, go through the gate of who is one of the best batsmen in the world, if not the best test batsman in the world, along with Steve Smith. Brilliant bowling, but again, it was patchy from the English bowlers, right? Like you talked about Ajinkya Rahane, what a great 50 he scored, but under pressure, he comes in, he's got out for a 1 and a 0 in the last 2 innings he's batted, right? He's under pressure. There's questions in the media about his play. So half of India wants him to be captain, half of India wants him to be out of the team. So incredible scenes. But he comes in, he's under pressure, and Moeen Ali's first ball to him is a full toss. That's a gift, man. Rane got out to it in the first test match, hitting Dom best cover, but that's why he's lucky. But that's kind of it. I mean, that was England's morning, right? They were patchy, and Rohit Sharma and Rahane, I mean, it's unfortunate almost for those 2 guys that Ashwin's overshadowed them in this manner. But I mean, Rohit Sharma's innings on that pitch, along with his partnership with Rahane, both obviously immediately after our partnership with CEAT. So love that you guys were writing in that and attributing some of that incredible success to us, but we had nothing to do with it. Just set up the game beautifully, and India was so far ahead. After that, they didn't look back. Just absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, that's right. So India did fairly well. I mean, 329 first innings on that wicket. We were like, this looks good, and DJ said India did fantastic. But it's always the case that till the other team bats, you have no idea whether 329 is good or not. So as well as India did, England came out and they actually got bowled all out for 134. And remember, this is a team where Joe Root himself made over 200 in the last game alone in 1 innings. This team has now gotten bowled out for 134. It felt like they didn't apply themselves on this pitch. I know some of the Indian batsmen also did not, but one always feels that, when you're batting second, essentially in the test match, you've got a good idea of what the pitch is doing and how to apply yourself. And England never seemed to kind of get past that. Their top score was 42. A lot of their batsmen got into single digits. And Ashwin, just talk me through that English batting lineup a little bit, right? Was it just a lack of application? Was it, just careless shots? What happened there?
I mean, credit to the bowlers first off, right? In many cases, there was a very clear plan. I don't even know how Ashwin does it. It feels like he remembers every ball he's ever bowled to every batsman. And he's just got a specific, unique plan to each player. I mean, we'll come to it, but in the second innings, when he got Lawrence out early, you can see he and Pant talked, and then the next ball, he got him stumped through the legs or down the leg side, essentially, right? So full credit to the Indian bowlers. I think they showed up well. I think the one that was really, a couple of the batsmen didn't do they didn't change their game for a pitch where you saw what happened all of day one. And you saw how, between the first and second innings, you saw how Kohli changed his game. And it was magnificent to see the way his back foot moved to adjust to the different pitch. The English batsmen didn't do that enough in their first innings. The other thing I just want to quickly highlight is Root. Root got dismissed both innings by Akshar Patel. I think when we were talking a lot before the match, in particular, what we thought could trouble Root was the bounce, right? Because he swept his way to 200, and Akshar is a little bit taller, a little bit Jadeja-esque. He extracts bounce from the track, and lo and behold, in the first innings, Root was off to a good start, and he got out sweeping a ball that just bounced up a little, took the top edge, and he got caught out. So I think full credit to, we talk a lot about Rahane and his successes in Australia. Full credit to Kohli as well, the skipper, for creating a plan that worked against this English batting lineup. And 134 all out says enough.
Yeah, and DJ, coming to the bowling a little bit, how does Ravichandran Ashwin do this day in, day out? He picked a fifer in the last game. He picked a fifer in this game. He's just bowling at a different level. And I do want to ask you, because I think I know my answer for this week's CEAT SecuraDrive Player of the Week, but I want to ask you your opinion. Who is the Player of the Week?
Yeah, so he won the Reliable Performer of the Week last year, right? The CEAT Reliable Performer of the Week last week. Sorry, I'll just start that again. So Ravichandran Ashwin obviously won the CEAT Reliable Performer of the Week last week. This week, if it could only get any better, and we've talked about Rohit's innings, in any other week, I think that would have just taken it. But here you had him taking 8 wickets on that track, scoring 100 in the second innings. Incredible. A little bit of luck, but you need a little bit of luck to get through. He also, the two of my favorite moments from that game came while Ashwin was bowling, and both of them were to Dan Lawrence, right? Ashwin mentioned one of our Ashwin. Oh, you are Ashwin. Just mentioned his bowling to Dan Lawrence just now. My favorite moment from the game in the first innings of England's batting was that last ball before lunch, right? Ashwin slows the entire game down. Lawrence is really struggling, right? He's struggling. He's got through it. And there's like one ball to go to lunch. And all he's thinking is, I need to get through one ball. That's all he's thinking. Ashwin slows it down, changes the field, talks to his fielder, talks a bit to the captain, comes into ball, bails out. He prolongs the agony even more. The drama of Test cricket. This is why we love Test cricket. He goes back again. And then he comes in and bowls the slowest ball of his spell. And Lawrence is committed. And he edges it and goes straight to Shubman Gill. And that moment, I think you talked about a moment when you stood up and Steve Smith edged it to first slip. This was the moment I was just like, this guy is playing cricket at a different level. He has the amount of control he has is insane. And there's a brilliant Jared Kimber article about today's dismissal of Dan Lawrence. So very interesting. Dan Lawrence plays for Essex. Apparently at Essex, they have a theory of coming down the track on the first or second ball of of the spinner's over in the first spell. I don't know whether Ashwin's read this, whether Kimber has told him, whether someone in Essex has told him, whether he watches, county cricket in his spare time because he has a contract for county, right? And Ashwin has planned this. It is Ashwin, our Ashwin mentioned that it was planned with Pant. It was probably planned the night before, knowing that this guy's method is to come down the track on the first ball of every over. And he's just fired it down the leg side. Pant has pulled out an absolute stunning stumping, but he's kind of expecting it, right? So Ashwin is operating at a level where, his mind and body are in complete sync. right? He's shown it in Australia. He is a man at the top of his game. He is achieving kind of Shane Warne-esque status in off spin right now. He is a genius.
Yeah, and I think DJ, the best thing for me is that his batting is also up to the mark, right? It almost felt like for a few years in the middle, we all knew Ashwin could bat, but he just wasn't getting those runs. He wasn't getting the scores that justify that his batting actually deserves. And so ever since that Sydney test, I think it's been great for him to build that confidence and to come out and, on his home ground, we were chatting about this a lot. For all the media hype that we got against the pitch, Ashwin just kind of took that out with one innings. He said, I'm just going to bat, I'm going to apply myself, I'm going to gamble, I'm going to take a few chances. And that's what happened. Ashwin got 100. He was the highest scorer for India in that innings.
And he trolled all the pitch pundits all by himself. And he is, of course, therefore the CEAT Player of the Week for us, and borne out by the poll that we put out as well. He's got 75% or more of the vote, as against Rohit Sharma. The other nomination was Akshar Patel. Guy's taken 5 wickets on test debut, man. I mean, you have to feel for the 2 other nominees, right? But what a performance. Any other week, either of those guys could have taken it, Rohit or Akshar, but it has to be Ravichandran Ashwin, CEAT Player of the Week for us.
Awesome. So that's 2 weeks in a row. He's got some sort of award from the Edges and Sledges and CEAT partnership. And so I think very well deserved by Ashwin. I think I'm going to move on to OUR Ashwin now and ask him a little bit about Rishabh Pant and Rishabh Pant's keeping. Like, we've seen his batting before. We know he hits the sixes. He's done well. Let's not talk about his batting this game. Let's talk about every person who said Rishabh Pant cannot keep to spin in India and he should not play. Let's talk about that, Ashwin. Let's talk about his catches in the first innings and his stumpings in the second innings. I mean, even Adam Gilchrist tweeted saying that this is just brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what we have been saying on this show for a while is kind of 2 things, right? One, Pant may not be the best keeper against spin in India yet, but he is young, he is growing, he is getting better every time he gets out there, and you have to give him time. Wicket keeping is an art that takes a long, long time to learn. Yes, he could have learned it earlier, he didn't, but he has the ability and he has the time and he needs the time to do it. The second is what Varun, you've been saying, I think in particular, is Pant is a confidence player and a momentum player, right? In the IPL, we said this before. In the World Cup, we've said this before. And so when you see him getting runs, both in Australia and then, early on here, you see that energy on the field. You see him talking to his bowlers. You see him chirping. He's singing songs. He's telling Washington about going to DC. He's singing Spider-Man. I mean, it is unreal, all the stuff he's coming up with behind the stumps. But that translates into his game because he knows he has the confidence of the captain. When he took those 2 magnificent catches off quick bowling, both were Siraj, I think, Kohli's reaction said everything, right? Kohli's was just so overjoyed for his young wicketkeeper that will feed Pant's confidence in the future as well. So the last thing I'll say quickly is we will look at that catch, the full length dive. We'll look at some of the stumpings, both the Dan Lawrence one and a couple of the other great moments. But it is not just those. It's every single ball, right? Ashwin's bowls it. There were points when Ashwin bowled it. It was, a full-length ball, and Pant ended up catching it near his head. That's how much the pitch was bouncing at some point. And he didn't drop many of those. He didn't let many of those through for buys. Could he be better? Absolutely. But he is on the right journey, and that is so exciting to see for such a young talent.
Absolutely. And ever since that catch, I have actually, for you guys to see on this Zoom, I have made Rishabh Pant's picture of catching that ball down leg side as my wallpaper on the phone. That's how excited I am. So, Ashwin, without trying to bait you into this, can you tell our listeners who is our CEAT puncture-resistant performer of the week?
Yeah, no surprises there, obviously. I think the one thing we're concerned about, we'll have to talk to our friends at CEAT, is that we'll end up giving every award every week to Rishabh Pant. But hey, this is colloquially called the Rishabh Pant show. That may not be the worst thing in the world. But of course, the CEAT puncture-resistant performer of the week is Rishabh Pant. Now, the poll on this one on Twitter was a little bit closer than the first one, where Pant got 39% of the votes, Kohli got 32% of the vote, and actually Ben Foakes got 20%. And credit to Foakes, he performed well. But when you make 57 not out, get your team over that 300 mark, and then take as many great catches as you will, I like to think of him as puncture resistant in this case because the whole world is talking against Pant. The whole world is trying to beat him down about his keeping, about his inability to play spin. And what has he done? He said he's learning from Saha. He's working with Saha to get better at keeping against spin, and he's making improvements. So Rishabh Pant, officially our CEAT Puncture Assistant Player of the Week. Maybe one of our listeners will keep track of how many weeks in a row Pant gets an award.
Right. Good. That was a great award. All very happy with that. DJ, talk us through a little bit about Kohli's masterclass. Look, we've discussed Ashwin. He was genius in this match. Man of the match, safe player of the week, everything, right? But tell me, how good was Virat Kohli? How did he adjust? You could almost see him from ball 1 to probably ball 20 and how he changed his approach to the game. Walk us through that a little bit.
I mean, from ball 1 to ball 20, he didn't score a run in the second innings, right?
Yeah,
he got
but
off
that's
the mark on the 20th ball. Insane.
But the approach, man, the way he changed his batting in those 20 balls, just reading the pitch, I thought that was beautiful.
Oh, yeah. And the pitch had deteriorated. There's all this chat, it'll be over on day 3. It's almost like Kohli took it upon himself to drag this match into day 4, just showing that, you know what, this is not an unplayable pitch. You guys just don't have the skill to bat on it. And he made his point very clearly. He batted with complete mastery of the conditions, in complete control, knowing what he's doing with the bowling, running hard between the wickets. And I mean, we can talk about the pitch, we can talk about the bowling, we can talk about how bad England were with the ball and stuff. But I mean, this man, he hasn't scored 100 for a while, so there's chat about that. But the last 2 innings he's played on wearing pitches in the last 2 test matches, it took a ball that basically shot along his feet to go through him in Chennai in the first test. And he only made 1 mistake pretty much in this entire innings. And going back to Moeen Ali, for the ball to clip the top of the bails. So those are the fine margins that we're talking about, right? I mean, this could have been a Kohli 100 along with an Ashwin 100 at one stage. And again, India looked like they were losing lots of wickets. We were 55 for 3, then Pant went, and there was quite a lot of, there may have been a little bit of panic at that stage saying, okay, what's happening? Nothing doing. Captain Kohli comes out, silences everybody with a masterful innings, a masterclass in playing spin. Like, go fully forward or go fully back. Commit to the shot and just, I mean, I don't think anybody else plays spin anywhere as close as well. Maybe Steve Smith on a good day. But Kohli and Rohit in this test match have shown, maybe Pujara. I think the Indian batsmen are just fantastic against spin, and we've showed it, right? So I think fantastic innings by Kohli, really pleased for him. And again, a very, very, it's very interesting. He said that earlier I would be rigid in my approach. Right now, he's changed his batting mid-test match, which is another mad thing to do. Who does that in the middle of a test match? And that's why India...
That's exactly what I was referring to, that he managed to adapt to the pitch in the middle of not only the match, but in the middle of his own innings. And that's why I thought it was so brilliant. But yeah, India then made 286 in the second innings. Rohit looked good, but again, got out. Nobody really got off to a start. You know, Pujara, unfortunate. This guy just keeps getting run out, and it's sad. I think his bat kind of got stuck in the pitch. I do want to give a shout out to Folks for his keeping skills. I think he was fantastic. Like the way he was collecting the ball, the way he got his stumpings, his catches, it was absolutely fantastic. So full credit to him there. And basically, I think Ashwin and Kohli just took the match away by creating a situation where England had to chase a mammoth score of over 400 to win. And as we all know, India wrapped up that test match. Unfortunately, Ashwin did not get his fifer in the second innings. I was really rooting for that. I think 10 wickets in a match and a century has only been done by 2 people before, if I'm not mistaken, or only Ian Botham. Only Ian Botham has done that before twice. So it would have really been like kind of record-breaking and created history if Ashwin got it. But Akshar Patel got it. And we know now with this Indian team that whoever picks up the wickets, whoever makes the runs, everyone celebrates. So congrats to Akshar Patel. He's got that X factor, not only in his name, as we spoke about. DJ, I know you tweeted about the Axe effect. as
Yeah,
well.
so Akshar Patel, fantastic analysis to take those 5 wickets. But I want to talk about the teamwork, man. You mentioned briefly, Ashwin didn't take 10 wickets. He could have totally gone for it. There was a stage at which it was possible for him to go and get that. But that's the team spirit that we're talking about, right? And if you're talking about like Ian Botham and Shakib Al Hassan and Richard Hadley in that league, those are the people who've done that, right? Take 10 wickets and score 100 in the same game. But it's absolutely, it shows the team spirit with which this team plays the game. Siraj celebrating like a madman when Ashwin gets his 100. That moment warmed the hearts of millions and billions of Indian cricket fans all over the world.
It was just pure joy. Like I stress on the word pure because you're right. Actually, you said it better than I was planning to say it. It warmed your heart. The way he ran, pumped his fist in the air twice. Like, I mean, that guy is just genuine. He's got character. For all the people who thought that he's just an RCB bowler who gets tonked around the park, I mean, that guy showing us a lot of character.
Man,
Yeah,
I have watched that clip probably 20 times. I probably will watch it another 20 times this week because it is just phenomenal. And remember in Australia when Siraj got his 5 4 and Shardul got stuck on 4, Siraj led the team off. Shardul was behind him, also just clapping and showing so much joy and so much excitement. So I'll absolutely love that in this team.
Yeah, and just to add, it could have been easy for Ravichandran Ashwin, right, to just say, yeah, we're good to go. I'm going to take 5 wickets in this one, and I'm going to go and get 10. But he's not looking for an individual performance. He's a team man, and that's the incredible situation with this team, and it makes you so proud to be a supporter.
Yep. And actually, one last call out before we go into our break is even Kuldeep Yadav, who has had a rough couple of months, managed to take 2 wickets at the end. And everyone was just so happy for him. You could see like Rohit Sharma was lifting him up, and it's been a tough tour for him. Like obviously performances dictate everything, and Kuldeep has had a tough time because he's not been able to play. But on given the circumstances, I think I was extremely happy that he managed to pick up these 2 wickets. We talked about Pant being a confidence player. Definitely Kuldeep is in the same camp. And just before we go into our timeout, I'm going to ask you guys very quickly. Give me very quickly what are the changes India is going to make for the pink ball test? Ashwin, I'll come to you first. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Bumrah's coming back. I think Ishant keeps his spot. Siraj keeps his spot. So as much as I hate to see it, Kuldeep misses out. And that allows you to have Akshar at 7, Ashwin at 8. So it gives you batting till 8 and 3 quick options.
Okay. DJ?
So just the one change.
Yeah, so for me, I think if Shami's fit, he comes in and Siraj stays in the team. So if it's a pink ball test and there's going to be grass and movement, I'd actually go with 4 quicks and 1 spinner being Ashwin. So I think Kuldeep and Akshar, unfortunate, but if the pitch isn't going to take spin, we go in with 1 spinner and 4 quicks and hit them hard with pace because we've got the resources to do it.
Very interesting. Okay, we'll find out more. I'm leaning more towards 3 quicks and 2 spinners. At one point, I did think we might play 3 spinners and Akshar and Sundar both to strengthen the batting lineup, especially potentially against Broad, Archer, and Anderson. But we'll find out soon enough. The test match is next week. And for right now, we're going to go into our CEAT strategic timeout. And on the other side of this, we're going to be getting into a lot more discussion on the pitch in Chennai.
So welcome back from that CEAT strategic timeout. And we are joined this week by Nishad Pai Vaidya. Nishad, thank you so much for joining us on the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast. Do you want to introduce yourself to our listeners a little bit? Although you're a household name almost for most of us.
No, not at all. I mean, not a household name. Been around for a while, been around in the cricket media industry for 10 years. Been blessed and fortunate to have covered 6 ICC events and also have got the opportunity to work with the IPL. So I think all in all, I've got perspective from both sides, having been on the side of the players and the administration and as well the media. And obviously, since we all love the games at heart, we are fans. So luckily, have got different vantage points through my life to see what the game is like for everyone. And that perspective is what always helps.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've been a broadcaster, a sports anchor, a writer. You've worked with the BBC Asian Network, Midday, Cricket Country, just to name a few. And you founded your own company, Niche Sports. So congratulations on that. Varun, do you have anything to ask Nishad?
I was going to say you're being very humble, Nishad. If you asked any of us when we were young, what is our dream job or who we want to be when we grow up, we'd probably have said you. So it's a great job and career to have.
Absolutely. It is very rewarding. And at the same time, there's obviously a lot of hard work involved, but you also need to be blessed with the opportunities at the right time, which fortunately have come my way. So, also that has been the hallmark. And one thing that I always love to say is that since we are around cricket, what we miss in being in plain sight is that we look at these guys, and these guys are champions. They go out there, they give it their best. Look at a Virat Kohli, Sachin Tendulkar. What makes them that? If we even try to learn 1 or 2% of that in our lives, our lives really change for the better. And that has been something that I've really learned from cricket, and I really strive to keep up to in this journey.
Incredible. Well, congratulations on a great career so far. And thank you so much for joining us. I mean, the reason we have you on this is because of your expertise on pitches, grounds, the effect that a crowd has on a team. So let's talk about that. I really want to talk about this Chennai leg of this England tour with you, Nishad. And the first thing I want to talk about is obviously the first test didn't have a crowd. And the second test did have a crowd, right? And Ravichandran Ashwin actually talked about how it was amazing getting 100 in front of his home crowd. There were some videos of like the crowd going wild when he got his 100. The Chepauk crowd in particular is known as a knowledgeable crowd, a crowd that has once given a Pakistan team an ovation in 1999 after we lost a test match. So tell us about the effect that the crowd has on players and how much did it affect this particular game?
It's fascinating, and you can see that the effect was there. You could see Virat Kohli G up the crowd in the middle of the game, and that showed how much it meant to him with these people being around. Because when we must know that about elite athletes in particular, when they're out there in the middle, a lot of them, their performance gets stimulated by the presence of crowd. The adrenaline starts pumping, and that's how their psychology is. You ask any sports psychologist and he will tell you. So someone who's, say, a beginner in sport, you would get nervous if there is a crowd, that you would think that there are so many people around. And I'm sure at least a lot of that happened to me in my college matches. So I can speak for experience, because I'm not, and that's why I'm not there. And these guys are, because they know how good they are. They believe in that. And when a crowd is there, they feed on that energy. But there's also a soft power to the crowd. Like you spoke about the Chennai crowd giving the Pakistan team a standing ovation in 1999. This is India versus Pakistan that we are talking about. Indians obviously don't like to lose to Pakistan. And then there's this crowd who gave a standing ovation to Wasim Akram and his men, who won a great test match. I think that's phenomenal. Coming to this test match, Ben Foakes celebrated his birthday on Feb the 15th. And a section of the crowd was singing happy birthday. And this is a guy who's playing his first test match in India. Someone actually made the effort to check his birthday and come to the ground and got other people to sing along with him or her. I think that is phenomenal. And that really tells you what the Chennai crowd is. They know their cricket. They love their cricket. And fortunately, I've also seen that during my visits over there. It's just I'll give you one anecdote if you don't mind. It was during the Karun Nair triple century. I was covering that game, and it was a very difficult week for Chennai. The previous week, Jay Lalita had passed away. There was mass mourning over there. There was a cyclone that had hit the city, and we had just landed in the city for the test match after the cyclone. One of the hotels, the facade had come off it, and you could see the damage it had done to the city. The ground also had faced a lot of damage. They still got the ground ready for the test match. The test was won, and I was interviewing fans outside the ground. And one of them said that we've had a very tough week. And thanks to cricket, now we can smile again for some time. A young guy got a triple century. India won a big test match against a very strong side. So that kind of appreciation, even in such times, that is what sets the Chennai crowd apart.
Yeah, and absolutely incredible. The Ben Foakes example and him being sung happy birthday to on a day he took 3 stumpings, which is 3 more than Josh Butler has taken in his career, right? So I think Foakes particularly, we didn't talk about this in the first half. He had a fantastic game playing in India in these conditions. He missed a couple, but I mean, it was a tough place to keep. And we're going to now come to the crux of it. All of this chat, all of the Twitter timeline, every article, it's about the pitch. The reason Ben Fowkes did such a good job with the bat and the gloves was because it was a tough pitch, right? The first question for that, Nishad, for you is it okay for a pitch to take turn from day one? We put a poll out. 86% of our Twitter timeline says yes. 14% says no. I'm putting some money on whether the Indian fans have voted yes. But what do you think? Is the criticism of a pitch taking turn and big turn? It wasn't. I mean, you saw the Kohli ball, right? From day one, is it justified for that pitch to be criticized?
I think it's quite okay. This is my personal opinion, because I feel a lot of it is being made out of pitches that turn, but not those that seam and swing on day one. And for example, India got all out for 36. There were no complaints about the pitch. And at the same time, you have so many wickets lost. Australia got bowled out for 47, if you may recall, at Cape Town. But on the same pitch, South Africa chased down a 200 plus total. And in the first innings as well, Michael Clarke, I think, had got a century. So we've got to have a look at the balance. And sometimes these pitches can backfire as well. Go back to 2017, where that Pune wicket was possibly one of the toughest we have seen. And that wicket saw Stephen Smith score a masterful 100 in the third innings. You saw Stephen O'Keefe bowl better than Ravichandran Ashwin, who's a master of bowling on these wickets. So sometimes it can backfire. So it's all about learning the skill to play on such wickets, which Rohit Sharma showed. And Ashwin getting a century in the second innings, I think that too showed that you could do something of that sort. It's just that, and I think Joe Root also, what he said in the post-match, he said that we've got to learn how to play better on such surfaces. So I think that pretty much sums up what needs to be said, what Joe Root said, that we need to learn how to ultimately learn. We need to learn how to play on these surfaces.
And I think they're not necessarily bad surfaces. They're just different surfaces from what they're used to seeing. Seaming the ball. There's a great article by Snehal Pradhan, actually, somebody that we've had on the show before in the HT, talking about how the hot days and turning pitches are not bad. They're just different. And if you're not used to them and they don't fit in with your aesthetics of what the right way to play cricket is, you then object to it and say it's not a test standard pitch, it's a dust bowl. But it just takes different skills to survive on that kind of pitch. And you talked about things backfiring. Pune, of course, is a very stark example, but you had the 2014 Lord's pitch, which I had the privilege of watching Rahane score 100 on day one on, right? I mean, it was green. You could hardly see. I was sitting, I think, in the mount stand, and you could hardly see where the pitch ended and the kind of outfield began. It was completely green. We've seen England being bowled out, or England... versus Ireland. I think they bowled Ireland out for 38 in the last innings after Jack Leach had to rescue them in the first innings with a 92. And it's just, I mean, you've seen England being bowled out for 60 and then going on to chase runs in the fourth inning. So it's just a different dynamic, right? And I think what this test match really showed was that it takes a different set of skills to survive and thrive, which England lacked. India outskilled them. But the other question that comes up, Nishad, and I want to ask you about this, is every time we are abroad and India is abroad and we don't do well or we get bowled out cheaply, questions are raised about our technique and questions are raised about our courage in front of fast bowling and why haven't we practiced? The question is never raised about the pitch, right?
Yes.
So why is that double standard existing in the media, really?
Yeah, it's interesting. Maybe we have to realize that at some stage the power centers used to be Australia and England. And possibly now that the dynamic has changed, it hasn't changed to such an extent that the narrative can be changed. So hence, which is why we have got these arguments even being put forth. But remember, that brings me to the Johannesburg test of 2018, where India showed so much courage. Ajinkya Rahane in the second innings, I think he got 48 or something, and he was getting hit all over the body. I think umpires even asked the batsmen if they wanted to continue, and these guys chose to stay. It was, in a sense, a statement that, look, we know that this is not a pitch that's really conducive to good batting or is safe, but we will stick it out here and we will fight it out. So in a sense, I would say that the whole perspective has not changed with time. Earlier, England, Australia, all the countries where cricket started could tell you what cricket should be like. Now that cricket has grown, with subcontinental teams also being more powerful, like we had Sri Lanka winning in 96, India had won the World Cup in 83, and now even with India being so strong in cricket, possibly the perspective as such has not changed in world cricket, which is why I think that perspective is still from an earlier era. And it's going to change with time, I think.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And there have been some great articles written by people like Jared Kimber. Sid Monga has written an interesting article. George Dobell has written an interesting article. But I think definitely Snehal Pradhan, a person who's actually played the game in both countries, as opposed to the other guys who are just writers and broadcasters, right? Snehal has actually played in England and she's played in India, and her article is fantastic. We'll put links to all of those in the show notes. But I also want to talk about the Chennai pitches contrasting, Nishad. And the first one was red soil based and it went 5 days. The second one, I think, was black soil or clay based, Ashwin put it. So having covered so much cricket in Chennai, is it amazing for you to see these completely contrasting pitches? One which went 5 days and was amazing, got a nearly 600-run first inning score, and one which turned square from day one.
I'm not really surprised, because we must also remember that there was a very short turnaround time between the two test matches. So it would have been tough for the ground staff as well to get the pitch ready in whatever way. And just to look at the way the pitch played, it was evident that the conditions were also difficult for the curators. Remember, Chennai is still hot at this time of the year. Again, cut to December 2016 when Karun Nair had scored that triple century. I remember this hilarious story where one of the England and Wales Cricket Board officials told a TNCA member that, when do you have winter here? And he's like, sir, this is winter. And it was 30 degrees out there. So you can imagine how difficult it is for the curator in that short turnaround time, how dry it would become. So and plus with the overall moisture and everything, Chennai is humid. So it wouldn't be easy. And we've also seen during the IPL and other T20 tournaments, when there have been, I think, back-to-back games, the second game, which is played just after, I don't think it's been very easy as well. And we've seen lower scores. If you just have a look, you may notice that.
It's almost like they rolled out a CSK T20 pitch, right, for the second test match. So it was, that's the kind of thing we're more used to seeing. Very briefly, Nishad, I'm going to ask you, what was the importance of winning the toss on this surface in both test matches?
For India in this test match, I think extremely important, because that 329 set the tone for them. Also, Ajinkya Rahane and Rohit Sharma's partnership, I felt, would be the difference between the two sides. But ultimately, it was Ravichandran Ashwin and his all-round abilities that was. But I think it was extremely crucial, because once India got past 300 on that pitch, there was no way they were going to lose the game. Unless England produced something magical the way Alistair Cook and Kevin Peterson did at Mumbai back in 2012. I watched that game and everyone felt India had enough at the end of the first innings. And when Jonathan Trott got out, the most solid batsman in that team after Alistair Cook, you felt England are just going to lose one wicket after the other, and these two guys produce a splendid partnership. If something like that had happened, that was the only way England could have bounced back in the test match. Otherwise, I think it was extremely crucial, more than the first test match, it was extremely crucial for India to win this test match just to set the tone. In the first test, they still had a chance of coming back had they batted through day 3 and little of day 4 and gotten more closer to the England total.
Now, it was incredible to see what I would say is almost an all-time great performance by Ravichandran Ashwin, an all-time great all-round performance by him. He even took the catch that dismissed Joe Root, remember? So he had a catch as well. I don't know whether he was just missing a run-out to complete the circle. But absolutely brilliant. England unable to adapt, unable to change the tempo of their batting. The game you talked about, KP and Cook, they batted at a much quicker tempo than anyone batted here. We saw Moeen Ali, when he attacked, got away with quite a lot of stuff. So very interesting. Nishad, it has been a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you so much for joining us. Obviously, you brought in a very interesting and very local insight into having watched so much cricket at Chennai. Do you want to tell our listeners where they can find you and where they can find Niche Sports?
Yes, of course. Thank you so much for having me. Love to follow your podcast and your banter on Twitter. I think that is nice, subtle, classy, and delivers the point, which is why I really love your tweets as well. And in this day and age of social media, we need someone like that. Niche Sports, you can follow us on Twitter, niche_sports. We are on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram under the same name, Niche Sports. And I think you can obviously log into YouTube, where we are as Niche Sports. We've featured interviews with Mike Gatting, the former England captain. We've had Jeff Lawson, Heath Streak, Danny Morrison, Simon Toffel, to name a few, and a lot more. Please do log in and subscribe to our channel. And I think that's enough of the advertisement.
No, we absolutely love it. It's a great channel, and thank you so much for producing more content. Guys, that's the show for this week. But as always, we do have the hashtag Bat with CEAT giveaway for February, right? So, guys, as we said last week, CEAT will be giving away one CEAT bat every month. So for the month of February, if you answer this question, you'll be entered into a lucky draw where you have the chance of winning this CEAT bat. Now, to enter the Bat with CEAT giveaway for February 2021, please answer the question that I'm just about to put out on the podcast. Before the first test against England that India lost, when was the last time India lost a test at Chennai? Name the opposition and give us the year. As a little hint, for those of you who've been living under a rock, we've actually mentioned the test match on this very podcast. Guys, so write in with the hashtag BatWithCEAT. You'll be entered into a draw to win a CEAT bat. And as always, write in at contact@onetiponehand.com. We're on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram @1tiponehand. We will be back next week talking about the IPL auction, and that's going to be super exciting. We'll also look a little bit ahead to the pink ball test. The series is set up beautifully. It's 1-1. India have roared back into this test series with a dominating, destructive performance by Rohit Sharma, Ajinkya Rahane, Ravichandran Ashwin, Virat Kohli, Rishabh Pant. All your favorite players have contributed in this game. And this series is set up beautifully. And I'm really looking forward to following it with all you guys. So join us next week. And until then, take care and enjoy the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast, brought to you by CEAT. Drive safe, guys.